Welcome back to another solo episode of the Self Mastery Podcast. You're here with Usman. And today we're going in for a really interesting topic. In fact, we're going to be speaking about Islam. The title of this podcast is From Islam to I Am. I'm going to go into what I mean by that. My journey as a Muslim, someone who has grown up in an Islamic household. This was my childhood, this was my upbringing. And so I'm going to talk about the transition that I've been on over the past 9-10 years. Going from a confused... what other word is there to say? Confused. A confused Muslim boy into the young man that I am here today, who has delved into many different aspects of spirituality and connection to the Creator, connection to a sense of oneness. So let's dive in. I hope you enjoy this episode. Make sure to like and subscribe if you do. And I'll see you after a very short little intro. What's going on? Welcome to another episode. Now, before we get started, I want to give you an update of where I've been. Where has Usman been mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually? Well, since the last episode that I released, Living Life with More Purpose, to now, oh baby, oh baby, it's been a ride. So, long story short, I started experiencing symptoms of ulcerative colitis once again. This is an illness that I've been learning from, a student of, for 9 years or so now. Funny, eh? 10 years practicing meditation and going on this journey. 10 years with the illness, learning from the illness. Cycles. I believe this cycle's coming to an end. So I was struggling, guys. I was losing so much blood in the toilet, right? Get this, bloody diarrhea is the main symptom of ulcerative colitis. Not normal, not fun, not pleasant. It's tough, and I lost a lot of weight, and this is all within the space of about 2-3 months. This is why I came back from Portugal back to the UK. I'm feeling loads better now, but I've been in a place, the reason why I'm sharing that is because I've been in a place of inquisition, rest, the cocoon of transformation, that's what I call it. And so I'm bringing this new me into today's episode. You know, I've been reflecting a lot on who I am, who I intend to be, what I have been that has led to the result that I'm experiencing right now, the reality that I've been experiencing or was experiencing, sick and tired. Come on, man. I'm 27. Energy. That's what I want to be feeling. Energy. Right? So what are the better choices that I can make in order to get there? Boom. This is the kind of work that I'm doing at the moment. Loads of stuff around childhood. I've been doing a lot of work into my childhood. Hope you don't mind. You know, we're not just going boom, zoom into the topic of today's podcast. I want to start with this introduction so you know where I am. You know who you're listening to. You know who you're tuning into. Been doing a lot of work around the inner child and my relationship to food and how food connects me to my past. There's a lot of nostalgia in foods that I crave or have craved. There's a lot of nostalgia there. Reminds me of mum's love, reminds me of good times, reminds me of being together as a family. Right, so emotional hunger. Been learning a lot about that and discovering so much about my own life, how I've ended up exactly here. From childhood programming to the choices that I've made, to the intentions and the roots of those intentions that have driven me to do some amazing things in life. This is about to tie into today's topic because we're going to speak about my story with Islam, which is one that I've been scared to share, genuinely afraid to share, because there are so many opinions, and in the Pakistani community or Islamic community, it can be very much about reputation, family's reputation. And if I put out some video and I start talking to you about my experience with, falling very far from the tree, moving very far from home, and living in a very different way, doing some things that the average Muslim would say, oh, astaghfirullah, forgive me Allah. That is, it's scary to put out real perspectives, to share my journey. Someone who grew up as a young Muslim who is now a seeker, a mystic in many ways. When I really allow myself and confidently embody it, I do feel that I'm a mystic, that I can channel, that I have a very spiritual nature. And it's clouded and has been clouded by so much of the inaccurate rules and dogma that I picked up as a child during my Islamic upbringing. So let's go in to today's episode. If you've got any comments, questions so far about what I've spoken about, you know where to post those comments, right? Engage with this content like we're in a conversation, and I'll be sure to get back to your questions. I'd love to have discussion on this. So Osman Ali, Muslim name, Muslim, Islamic history. I've even found it hard to embody and step into that name confidently here in the UK, because it's always about pronunciation, right? It's like, how do I pronounce that? Usman, this is what I was called in schools. Usman or Ali Usman, this is the pronunciation. And it just never felt like me, never felt. And so if I would pronounce my name Osman, it's, I'm still embodying my name, my Islamic name. Do you know what I'm saying? Still really trying to own that. So it goes deep, all of this stuff. I was raised here in England, Liverpool. I was born in Burnley. And that's another thing for me to embody, to grow proud and more proud of and more connected to. The Burnley roots. Do you know what I'm saying? I grew up in Liverpool. I grew up in an Islamic household. I went to Islamic school two times a week for years and years from an early age, very early age. I learned how to read Arabic, learned how to read the Quran. I learned about the history of Islam and the prophets. I learned how to pray, salat. I didn't pray 5 times a day in a disciplined way. No, I didn't do that as a child. There was phases where I did. Phases where I really did. I fasted in Ramadan every year from as early and as young as I can remember, all the way through, up until last year or the year before was the first Ramadan that I didn't fast. And that was big, that was hard, that was difficult, but what was going on inside of me, it just didn't feel compatible. And I'll get into that a little bit more. So I followed, like the typical standard Western Islamic guide, the guideline. And one thing that comes in our culture, if you're somebody watching this who's within this culture, and then you'll understand more than anything. But for those of you that don't know, something in this culture, and it's very similar for Chinese and Indian and but Pakistani culture, you grow up and it's like you got to be a doctor, or a doctor was, to be honest, like the one that was assigned to me. And it's so interesting because I went to school and I did a lot of scientific subjects, mathematics. I was really brainy, really intelligent in that way, intellectual. And I went to university, I did mathematics. And here's the thing, I found myself, it started from there. The religion becomes interconnected with the other guidelines for life. So career path, it's all programming. It's all programming. Relationship, how marriage will go, right, or should go. Who you can get into a relationship with. Oh, I'll talk about that. Because that was extremely, extremely challenging. So I went to university. I did mathematics. Now this is where it changed. This is where it all really changed. From school, going through to Islamic school 2-3 times a week, or 2 times a week, up until the age of 18, I was very much just following the rules. Not really fully, like I wasn't praying 5 times a day. I was fasting all the way through Ramadan. So, I kind of like did many parts very faithfully, very intently, very in a very disciplined way. And then many other parts I didn't really be so consistent with, like praying 5 times a day. Now my reason for that, I'll just add before I go into when everything changed. My reason for that was that I found it so difficult to feel the connection to Islamic prayer when I was using words that I didn't understand. So it's all in Arabic, right? It's all in Arabic, and they say, the words have a vibration and an energy to them. But I was just never feeling it. I was never feeling it, and I wanted to. Do you know what I mean? Can't blame me. Like, don't call me a sinner, or you might do, but at the end of the day, it all comes down to me and the Creator, and that's where judgment happens, right? You're not involved in my judgment. You're not involved in my judgment, and I need to say that to anyone that's watching this, especially the Muslim brothers and sisters. I say salam alaikum to you, but you don't have any contribution towards my judgment. So I got to make that clear, and that's the first time that I'm really saying that and feeling it. And I think this episode is transformational for me personally, if I'm honest. So reading the words, not understanding the meaning, this was so important to me, especially being a scientific minded person, right? Mathematician. I used to love taking toys apart and putting them back together. This was the passion that I had to understand how things worked. And that was actually put into the shadow at one point, because I used to always just get told off for doing things wrong, and for opening toys and breaking them, essentially. And what's a parent gonna do when they're spending money and the kid's breaking all the toys? Because he's inquisitive, though. Just gonna throw this in. Capitalize. Focus on your children's inquisition and their curiosity. Encourage them to explore where they're curious. Notice where they're curious. Notice what they have an affinity towards, and help them explore that. Because, I might have stopped breaking toys because I got shouted at and scared, and then didn't really do it much anymore. But I always continued being an engineer in here. I always continued being someone who wants to understand how things work. That's a beautiful blessing that I've received, and I'm so thankful for that. Let me talk about the hands that I put together here. If you're watching this on YouTube, you'll see that I put my hands together quite a lot like this. Listen, it's so funny, right? Because even in the Islamic community, this is the kind of stuff that I've experienced. I'll go to family houses, or we'll have visitors, or I'll be with my father, for example, and I'll do this because I'm genuinely thankful, and my hands just come together. No one taught me this is what you do. I was actually taught this is how we pray. This is how we pray. But I never felt like my body naturally wanted to do that. Whereas this genuinely in my body feels good, feels grateful when I put my hands together. So there's just a little something, and I can go into the meaning of what I'm really trying to get to there when I'm talking about the body and how the body feels, and the body knows truth, right? At least this is my current understanding, opinion, understanding. The body knows truth. So I continued being this inquisitive person, curious, so curious about the world, how things work. And then, all of a sudden, at the age of about 18, 19, it was 19, I remember exactly where I was standing when I was having these thought processes of, am I being initiated? Am I becoming an adult now? Or what's going on? I feel the shift, and it's not at 18 like everyone says you become an adult when you're 18, but I was 19, and I was like, yo, I'm feeling something. My life was just evolving. And it was at that time that I was introduced to meditation. Now here's where it all, this is where the adventure began. I was introduced to meditation. A friend of mine, he passed me some information, actually a testimonial of his. He said, I sat down and meditated for 5 minutes, and when I opened my eyes, I actually felt better. I actually felt good. I actually felt calm, really calm. And funny enough, this friend, I get the impression he's actually quite anti-meditation. But I really picked it up. I was inspired by what he told me, and I started meditating. And that was my first experience of feeling like where I'm supposed to be looking is inside, not outside. This was the big shift. Can you imagine? Living a whole life looking outside, looking to God outside, looking to the Creator outside, looking for answers outside. Go and ask the Imam, they would say, when I had questions that were too deep. Because this was the thing. I had so many questions as a kid about God, about life, about death, about sin. And wow, a lot of these questions couldn't be answered by the people that I was surrounded with. So I was forwarded to the Imam, who would just tell me that it's written in the book, would just give me a passage. We never had discussion, human discussion. What is in you in regard to this topic? What is your experience with this topic? Or are you going to give me verses? Are you going to give me words and quotes from a holy book and pretend that you are flawless? Pretend that you haven't masturbated? Let's go there. That you haven't had a girlfriend, that you haven't kissed a girl. These things were big for me. I kissed a girl for the first time when I was 18. That was massive for me, because it's like, am I going to hell now? Am I going to hell now? And I didn't have anyone really to speak to about this. I didn't feel like I had anyone really to go to where I could have a proper discussion and really go into things without being told that, yeah, you're going to hell. Maybe that's why I didn't ask questions to the Imams, or I didn't ask questions within the Islamic space, because I just knew that the answer I was going to get. And this is potentially unwise of the younger version of me, because he doesn't know what he would have got. He doesn't know who he would have met, who he could have met with different perspectives to give him an example of someone in Islam who has an open mind, who has an open heart. This is who I've never found. I've never found. Maybe I met one friend actually who was kind of close to that. But a Muslim with a genuinely open mind, open heart, open soul, to accept wisdom that comes from other channels. I'm not going to go into right and wrong here and try to debunk religion. That's not what I'm here to do. There's information within my mind that could potentially do that, though. But a little bit of knowledge is a dangerous thing, and I know that I don't know enough about that yet. Thing is this: the teachings within, the stories within Islam of some people, some powerful people, the same stories that are within Judaism and Christianity, they're from before these religions. They're from before. If that doesn't say, just let that sink in. They're from before. The followers came after. The true holy men, to be honest, actually, because I believe they were real, many of them. Noah, Moses, Noah, Musa, of course. Same names, different names, same names. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, there's so many names within the biblical stories and the Bible, simply said, and the Quran and the Torah, the Jewish Torah, that they're the same names, just different cultural accent on them. Noah, Jibrail, Gabriel, even angels, not just prophets, right? There are, Moses, Musa, there's tons. Michael, Maryam, and Mary. I remember when I first heard that one, that was beautiful actually. I remember hearing that and being like, wow. But anyway, these stories, ancient old stories of people who in religion we follow so closely. Muhammad, Moses, Jesus. these stories are from before the religion was invented. The religion was, discovered. No, that's not the word I'm looking for. Before the religion was founded. Spirituality has always been and always will be. Religion hasn't always been and may not always be. Religion does not go back to the beginning of time. Spirituality goes back to the beginning of time. Religion talks about the beginning of time, but religion was not in the beginning of time. Do you get what I'm saying there? Spirituality, the fact that everything's connected, the fact that there is a creator. Notice how I say that, because I'm not sure. See, this is the thing, the deeper and deeper we go, the deeper and deeper we're willing to go, it's just like, wow, I still don't know. So let's kind of pick up in the story, and we'll keep kind of chronological with this, because I'd like to take you through a journey, guys. I started questioning anything. I think I went on a massive tangent then. I hope it gave you something, at least entertainment. So I went on a massive journey away from the Islamic teachings, from looking outside to God to looking within for the answers, looking within for the wisdom, looking within for the peace, for the love, right? For the acceptance, for the devil. Do you know what I mean? Because it's all inside. The test is within. The only opponent at the end of the day is you. Your only opponent is you. If you're alone, and a lot of people, I've recently been on Reddit, and I've been looking, and I'm noticing how depressed people are right now, how anxious people are, how lonely, right? And so, what am I trying to say? Little brain fart here. Shabash. Looking within became my new default, became my new answer, became my new solution. Looking within. Now, what do I mean by looking within? Well, first of all, I mean just spending more time with my awareness inside. Spending more time with my awareness focused in. And this became a meditation practice. Now, in Islam, I came across this today. In Islam, they call meditation dhikr. And dhikr is, I haven't studied much into it yet, but if it is what meditation is, then great. We can all do it. It doesn't have to be, I'm not meditating, that's not Islamic, or that's being Buddhist. Because shortly after I started meditating, and it became a big part of my life, I then had to go through the struggle. Then I had to go through the conundrum, the challenge, repetitive challenge of doing what feels right for me in the presence of those who are still doing, the way that they were told. The way that they were told, whether it works for them or not. They're still doing it, and that's okay. But just because someone practices spirituality by praying 5 times a day doesn't mean that they can't also meditate. You see, these things aren't the same. Prayer and meditation, it's not the same. And so, it was really interesting, right? Let me just pick up some momentum again right here. It was really interesting because my grandmother would come over to the house, and this was like just a few years ago, and I'm like meditating, and she's there. I can see her, just like, I can feel her looking at me like, he's gone, he's lost. Do you know what I mean? And my mother, bless, she's cried multiple times in the past. Whether she remembers that or not, I don't know. But she's been really emotional at times and said, I think you're lost. You know, you went astray. You went away from the path. And it's really interesting because although on the surface, the kind of details of Islam that I used to practice as a child, but I never felt connection through, they kind of left. I kind of let go of them. And when I say that, I don't mean delete, because I'm actually in my life right at the moment being led to learn things within Islam that are very much in line with everything I've been learning over the past 10 years. So the reconnection's coming. Don't worry about that. I just took a vacation. And this is really interesting because sometimes I think we got to take a vacation from what we believe. We've got to take a vacation from our religion in order to find what's true, and then align that potentially with the religion once the understanding has been established. What do I mean by this? It's only today that I came across the word dhikr, which is meditation. They say, I need to look into it really before I say this, but the equivalent of meditation in Islam. So meditation's there. I wasn't told that when I was a kid. At least I don't remember it, or it wasn't advertised as something useful. Maybe it's because anxiety and depression and all these things weren't so severe back then, but I was suffering with low self-esteem as a kid, and I was feeling quite depressed. I could say that, but definitely I don't think it was as common as it is today. Maybe this is something that we can introduce to the kids more within the Islamic community, is dhikr, the practice of meditation, practice of mindfulness, being able to observe one's thoughts, being able to neutralize and harmonize negative thoughts. When I say harmonize, I mean neutralize, really. To neutralize them, I'm just trying to be fancy with words. So, let me take a breath. And I invite you to take a breath also, a deep breath. Okay. So I rebelled. And I just followed my dreams. Right, for the early years of my 20s, I'm 27 now, so 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25. I just followed my dreams. You know, I moved out of home for university. This is something that in Islam and in a Pakistani household is not usually favoured. Is the sons moving out. Usually it's the daughters move out with the husband when they get married. The sons invite their wives into the family home when they get married. So the sons stay at home. They look after the parents. They pay the bills. This never happened in my case. And there is definitely a shame there. There is definitely a shame. The fact that I haven't been able to hold down a 9-to-5 career, you know, the job that they wanted for me, and to be able to really pay the bills for my mum. I live with my mum. To be able to pay the bills, this is something I'd love to do, right? And I'm welcoming it. You know, my coaching business is growing. I'm coaching people. I get paid to do that more than I was ever paid to do any job. It's just way more unpredictable. So this is what I'm trying to really master, is making it more predictable. Clients, do you know what I'm saying? Higher ticket clients. So if you are interested in any one-to-one work, I do coach people in life to feel more energy, to feel more peace of mind, more tranquility, but also to just be confident confident that you can manage negative thinking. Find peace, calmness, and stillness wherever you are, whenever you are, with whoever you are with. To be confident that you can do that for yourself, okay? To be confident that you can do that for yourself, to have that self-esteem, okay? So if you want to work with me, you can send me a message. I'll put a link in the description below if you're watching this on YouTube, where you can contact me. You can book a free call if you want to, and we can speak. You know, it'd be amazing just to see who's reaching out. So let's continue the tale from Islam to I Am. You know, I was watching a film with my mother, Moses, the Ten Commandments, and he speaks to God in one scene in this film. He speaks to God, and he says to God, "What should I call you? What name should I give you when I report back to all the people and they want to know your name?" And he says, "I am." He says, "Refer to me as I am." I was like, wow, this is a teaching. This is something that's very much in line with what you will see in Buddhism, what you will see in Eastern practices, in yogic spirituality, philosophy. I am. I am. The fact that it said that in that film just shocked me, because my mum was watching it and she's very much into these biblical stories. She loves them. They're entertaining, but they're also infused with faith and religion. But that didn't register I am as something significant. I think a lot of people might have watched that film and just completely missed it. We're so used to thinking that we know the name of God, that we argue with others to tell them that their name of God is wrong. The fact that they use another name means to us, most of us, that they've got a different God. And so it becomes, my God will batter your God. My God's better than your God. My God will do your God in. We'll choke him out. You see, I'm laughing, but this has led to wars and death. So much of it. Slavery. Torture. Genocide. So this was a matter to me growing up. This was a matter. This was something important. Why is it that the people of the book, the people of Islam, are killing so many people? Simply said, why have the Christians killed so many people? I don't know too much about Jewish history and if they've killed loads of people. The Israelis, I guess, have killed loads of people. I'm acknowledging my own ignorance there before I've said that, just in case you're watching this, you get offended or something. I don't know the answers. I don't know everything that's going on in the world. What I do know is that a lot of people have died over religion. And this was always a problem for me. So as I'm holding my attention within, as I'm learning to look within, at the age of about 19 plus, my whole life changed. My whole life changed. I started experiencing synchronicity everywhere. Started experiencing meeting amazing people. I started fulfilling my dreams, traveling across the world. I felt so confident, right? I built this confidence that was just like, I can do anything. Absolutely anything. Faith pure faith, hitchhiking across Europe for 2 years, more or less. Hardly any money. Faith that I would get picked up. Faith that I would be taken to someone's home. Faith that I would be fed well. And it was always beautifully abundant for me. It was amazing. So my pilgrimage started then. I went on a pilgrimage. I didn't read the Quran. I didn't finish it. I still haven't. But I went on a pilgrimage. I went on a journey to really expose myself to life, to really expose myself to the unknown, to my own fears. My own fears, because this is the thing. Looking outside, we pray, right? We pray when we look outside to God, or when we look outside for the answers. We pray for the answers. We pray for help to come in from the outside. We pray for someone to come and save us, or something to come and take our pain away. And that oftentimes leads to disappointment and asking questions like, why do bad things happen to good people? It leads to questions of, why would God do that? But when you put the attention inside, when I started putting the attention within, then I started noticing all these fears within me, all this work that was to be done inside. Never mind what's going on outside. Let's take care of this, the fears, the insecurities, right? I don't know about you guys. I don't know about you, but please let me know in the comments if you relate. If you grew up in an Islamic household, this is for the brothers especially. Did you grow up, and maybe even still to this day, experience extreme difficulty with speaking to women? Extreme difficulty with girls at the time, because we were kids then. Did you have a lot of difficulty with that? Because I did. And you see, working on that, working on being able to speak, working on being able to just believe that I can, that has been the biggest part of my spiritual journey more than anything. And it's strange to say that, because you would think that was more like mental, emotional stuff, but it's all connected. The mind, body, emotions, the spirit, it's all connected. And so it's been a very spiritual journey for me, overcoming my own fears, overcoming my own darkness, my own addictions. I'm still working on them. I'm still working on myself daily. And so that's the true spirituality for me. In my experience, that is what has defined itself as spirituality. Working on yourself. Self-actualization. To become your best self. This is extremely spiritual. And the reason why I stress this, and the reason why I want to put this into today's episode, is because there are many people within the Islamic faith, the Islamic community. I'm speaking about Islam here in particular because that's where I've come from. But it could apply to the Jewish community, or Christian community, or Hindu community, or Sikh community, or pagan community, yogic community. Maybe not so much there, but maybe. Look within. Look within. Look within. And work on yourself. Recognize that you're impatient. So that means we should work on our patience, because why? We want to be good people. We want to be better people for the world. This is simple. This is foundational. And this is what used to confuse me with Islam so much, is that it wasn't focused on being a good person. At least that's not how it was transmitted. Maybe in the book, maybe in the Quran, maybe experts will say, yes, no. The path of Islam is about being a righteous person, about being a good person. But I wasn't seeing it. Children don't do what they hear. They do what they see, what they observe. That's what they learn and repeat. And so I learned, growing up around Muslims who were gossiping. A lot of the time, gossiping about other people, gossiping about family members. Do you know what I mean? Very little trust. Don't give the food to them because they're not homeless. Don't just do something nice for your neighbour. Do you know what I mean? Don't just do something nice for them. They're not part of the Islamic community. If you experience something different to this, then I'm thankful for that. Wow, that's beautiful. This is just my experience though. Do good for the Muslims, but for other people, don't. For other people, they don't need it. And that bothered me. That bothered me because I was just like, you will class a kind of person as more important to help, more important to serve and to spend time with than a different race or religion. It's kind of racist. It kind of is. It's kind of racist. So yeah, that's something new. You see, I'm going to start closing up on this episode because I could probably do another one on this, and maybe I will if it strikes a chord in you, if this is a topic that stimulates discussion. You don't just consume the content, but you actually engage. If you like the video, maybe I'll make something new on, I'll make something a part 2 on this, because the journey goes on. In fact, I won't be able to share it with you in this episode, which is a shame, but the journey goes on to the story when I was in Spain, Canary Islands, and I was traveling, and I was living on beaches with naked people, and I took magic mushrooms. In fact, there's been a big fear of mine to speak about my experience there. Like I said, because of the judgments of this person or this family, or the reputation of my family, how it might affect, and ultimately how I'll get my mother's disapproval. That's what it all comes back to. But there's much more to tell. I became very, very confused about who I was praying to, who I was addressing in my prayers, who I was addressing with my thanks for the weather, for nature, for small things. Who am I thanking? God, the universe, Allah. I was using many words. It was very confusing for me. And so I took magic mushrooms, and I'll speak about that in the next part of From Islam to I Am. Maybe it will be from I Am to Islam. You never know. You never know. I'm open. Before I finish this episode, in fact, I'm going to pick this up. I'm actually going to take you over to my bookshelf, because there's a book here that I would love to recommend to any of you that have been on the Islamic path or a religious path. I've got a friend who read this book that isn't religious, isn't Muslim, but he was highly impacted by this book. It's called The Last Barrier, and I gotta give real thanks and gratitude. Take a look at that. The Last Barrier by Rashad Field. I'll put a link in the description or something for you. But this book, wow, it gave me faith that there are people within Islam who are open-hearted, open-minded, and actually spiritually connected, good people. It gave me faith that there are branches of Islam, that there's deep wisdom within the religion, and that it's not all just about reputation and good deeds versus bad deeds. So, and my religion's right and your religion's wrong. It's not about that. So this book, The Last Barrier, check it out, because wow, what a game changer. What a game changer. A man goes on a spiritual journey through Turkey He learns the Sufi way, the Sufis and the mystics of Islam. So it's an absolutely amazing story, and it's based on a true story. I'll leave you guys with that. A little resource for you to maybe read and invest in. It's hard to say it's a life-changing book, but it's more just like the only book I've read where I felt like I was really on an experience. I was experiencing something whilst reading that book, and my friend who's not religious said the same thing. Weird stuff started happening in his life when he was reading this book. So much love to you if you watch this video all the way through to the end, or if you listen to this episode of the podcast all the way through. I have been Usman. I am Usman today, and I'm just really grateful for everyone that tunes in. So hit the like button if you want to give something back, if you want to do something good. It would really help me. I'm in a transition at the moment in my business and life, my professional life, where I'm really experimenting and finding my flavour, just what it is that I embody effortlessly, that entertains, impacts and stimulates to the highest degree. So if these episodes are entertaining, if they're good, they're educational or inspiring, let me know in the comments, and make sure to hit subscribe either on YouTube or Apple Podcasts. I'd love for you to share this episode with some other friends of yours, brothers and sisters from the Islamic community. And I would love for them to know, which they'll only get to know at the end of the episode if they listen, that it really isn't a matter of right or wrong here. I'm not wronging anyone, right? I'm not doing that. This isn't a fight. This isn't a battle. At least not with me. My opponent is within. It's not you. And we're in this together. So, yes, let me check out by wishing you the absolute best. And let me check out by reminding you that you can contact me if you want to work one-to-one and get some coaching. If you're dealing with depression or anxiety, issues of the mind, non-stop negative thinking. This is my specialty. I grew up with a sticky mind, a sticky, negative bully of a mind, and I was able to turn it into my best friend. So if you want help with that, and a bunch of other things, including the art of yoga and meditation, it's all connected, reach out to me. I'll put a link, like I said, in the description of the show notes. If you want to donate to the channel as well, there's another option on how you can contribute. Anything that you feel like giving, boom, just send it over to your boy Usman, because he's being courageous to speak and he pays to keep this podcast up and live. So much love to you. I'ma cut it there. Inshallah, we'll speak again. For now, I'm wishing you well. I'm wishing you health. I'm wishing you energy, fulfillment, peace, community, prosperity, patience, discipline, faith and trust. How about that for a sandwich? Boom, 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 boom. Peace.